So so
Yeah.
as you know, we've been having this discussion on data.
Mm-hmm.
And you're dealing with cybersecurity, protecting our data. But as you can see, 85% of the people, and we can even say 85% of the nation, right, is freely giving their data away. And we know that data is our oil, the new oil, right, or the new gold.
Yeah.
Can you build on, that, and what do you see for us as a nation, as well as Aboriginal people as a whole, in terms of how we're going to get a grip on this thing?
Yeah.
And how do we? Because basically, we're at this point we're being colonized all over again.
Yeah. Right.
This is another form of colonization.
Yeah.
So
you're asking a good question, man. With a lot of questions wrapped up in it.
Yeah. So let's build on that.
So let's start off from a business economic standpoint, right? And we got to start with, you asked the question about data. Like, what is the value of data, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we talk about the origins of the internet, and they got the thing they call like Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and now we're emerging to a new thing called Web 3.0 when that comes out, right? So
you don't think we're there yet?
No, it's still in the dawn, in the beginning of it. I mean, we can get there. We'll get to that, right? What is Web 3.0? What is that going to look like? Is the question.
Right. Well, because people don't even. And I don't mean to cut you, but just like the morphing from Web 1.0 to 2.0 is almost seamless. Like
real quick to say that Web 3.0 will bring more autonomy and ownership of the data amongst the people, and we're not there yet. Because now you're talking more about the blockchain, and you having more control over how that data is distributed, who has permissions to access it. It's more decentralized. We're still in a very centralized, as you use the word colonized type of infrastructure when it talks about the web. So we're not at 3.0 yet. 3.0 we see a lot more decentralization than what we're even seeing right now. You still got very few companies, we can name all of them, that owns the piping and how the data is being distributed and who owns it. So like I said, just start from the beginning, when you talk about business and economics, as I started touching on during that Parliament bill, the internet has really emerged as a new domain for people to conduct business, right? And it wasn't always that way. Some of us might remember, like in 1993, you had an AOL disk. You stick that in the computer, wait for the dial-up, right? And then you can get on some message boards. We're talking about Web 0.0, right? And it was very static. So the key is, how can you basically, things is very, in the early days, and I'm still talking about in the 90s, things is very brick and mortar. You wanted to order or purchase something, and you really had to physically go into a store and go purchase that item.
Right.
But the internet revolutionized all of that. Let's start off with one of the greatest dominators of the new Web 2.0 and using data and using the internet. Just look at Amazon. Jeff Bezos used to work for a hedge fund. Actually with Renaissance Technology, but that's a whole nother bill right there. And he went out to Seattle, right? And I remember hearing this from when he was on Oprah talking about this. And when him and his wife, they drove across country from New York, because he was here in New York working at a hedge fund, drove out to Seattle to a book fair. They wanted to go get some books or something like that. As they was driving back across the country, the light bulb went off in his head. It's like, look, why are we driving across the country to get books? Why don't we just build a website where you can order the books from the website? Now I ain't got to travel to go get it.
Right.
All right? So, that's how it started. He went back. He got with him and his wife, set up a website. He said he telling Oprah this. Him and his wife is packing up books on their kitchen table, and his wife is dropping them off in the mailbox. He said, look, Oprah, we got too big for the kitchen. I had to get a garage and hire 10 more people with a table. We got too big for that. I had to go get a building, and the rest is history. So, again, the internet revolutionized things, right? And we get in there when we talking about business, economics, and data.
Well, he also has some predatory practices in that too.
Yeah, you're right.
But we don't have to touch on that.
Yeah, you got the cheetah thing, right? You find the weakest business and you take them out, and then you start moving up the chain and get other ones, right? So he started finding out weak, book businesses. He found companies that were making, distributing Pampers. They were weak. He started taking out the smaller, weaker companies. And once he gets them out of the way and cannibalizes their business, then he starts moving up and taking out the rest of the competition. Just to touch on what you're saying, see, I know what you mean.
Right.
And that was just like for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
right. So I mean, but that's business, right?
Well, there's others, but
these guys is new. They're modern day. Napoleons and Caesars, right? Back in the days, they wanted to conquer land. Now they're conquering land virtually, online. That's what these business, however you want to title them, conquistadors and colonizers are doing, right? So, but anyway, the whole key thing is, data. There's value in data. Building these businesses, building them online, and providing data. And also, what is the thing about data? Because data is still a substance, right? Data is almost like atoms. So what happens with atoms? Atoms build together and they form what? Elements, right? And those elements can produce molecules, and then they build in the tissue and build in organs. So anyway, it's all about the data coming together to really produce information, and that's the value, is the information. So people are online now, and what did they say? We went from the industrial age into the information age. Like all this information that you ever looked for and you ever wanted is all at your fingertips, right? You just log on to the computer, man, power it up, and you got all this information at your fingertips, right? So there's a lot of value in information, and there's all these businesses that are starting up, learning how to monetize a lot of it, right? So you start off with the Amazons and the Microsoft, right? Microsoft created the whole operating system that runs on all these computers, right? Then you get a web browser on top of that, and now we can all use the web browser to access the information superhighway where you get all this information, right? So, that's we're talking about these piping. You're talking about the data. So
the value of the data.
The value of the data. I mean, again, like I said, the value is the data being put together to produce information. I mean, that's the key, right? How do we use that information, action it, and
well, that goes because my discussion has been controlling our data, right?
Yeah.
Or see, controlling your data, but then also analyzing your data. That's kind of like two different things, right? Well, it's almost the same, but you keep your data, and as you have all your data, do you even know how to use it?
Yeah.
So
True indeed.
Analyze it, right? Do you know how to,
Right. Do you have all your data?
Huh?
Because you got to look at what data is being mined, and it's kind of daunting. There's a lot of data we don't have, or we really don't have access to, because a lot of this information is done with what's called machine to machine.
Yeah.
So there's no human even involved. Like say, are you familiar with smart dust?
Smart dust, no.
Okay, like when you record this, I want people to go look these things up for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's bring out our phones real quick. Mm-hmm. Right? Oh, now she wants to back now.
So real quick on the data thing.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Look at
No.
So the key is, like, what type of data are we producing? Now, when you use a web service, and let's just talk about like Facebook, right? There's metadata on there. What is that metadata? Who you are, your age, location you live in. That metadata is useful, and how is Facebook utilizing is the question, right? You know how the saying is, if you're not being paid for using a product, then you are the product, right? And they're using you and your information, right? So they're using the metadata. Now that they know, who you are, a lot infinite, and they know who's in your social circle, they know your age group, and they know your location, they can target ads based on that demographic. Not only that, they're looking at the things you're doing on there, your user behavior, and generating profiles based on that. So now again, they're mining that data, like the God is saying, right? And they're using that as information that they're able to make business decisions on. And they sell that to other businesses and companies. Right? So that's some of the value. Not only are they selling that rich data that's being mined, but again, the advertisers is able to target things, and that's how they're able to monetize it, right? So that's one thing. So we got to think about what kind of data are we producing is what it really comes down to. And where is this data being produced at? A lot of times, we look at social media, and first of all, we're not building social media apps, because this is what I'm saying. We're getting back into the whole economic discussions
about producers and consumers.
Right, producers and consumers. So we're signing up on these social media apps. They make it attractive where we're going in, and what do you want to do? Okay, you want to socialize, right? So I'm able to tag all my friends, And sometimes, you might have a business, so you're promoting that business through it, right? But again, you're making some money, but the platform is making money too. So they're making money off of that information, right? Sometimes they charge you a fee for even advertising, right? You want to run a business profile, you might have to pay for that, right? Think about on Twitter or X now, you got to have a blue check mark, right? That's a fee for that. So, there's all types of ways these businesses is monetizing their platforms, and that's what it really comes down to. What type of platforms are we building, and then how do we going to monetize that, right? As far as the data that's being produced on those platforms. That's really the key. So when you talk about colonization, you're right. The problem is a lot of these businesses, again, it's centralized. I mean, you're still talking about very few players. You're still talking about Facebook, aka now Meta. You're still talking about Microsoft. You're still talking about Amazon. You're still talking about Google. And remember, they own all these other subsidiaries. Google owns YouTube. There's other things they own, right? Microsoft
BlackRock owns them all.
Huh?
BlackRock owns them all.
BlackRock got a lot of financing and equity in a lot of these companies, right?
And that's another thing. Well, I guess we get into that because
and that's another thing of Web 3.0 is the metaverse. That's where Zuckerberg's vision is that everyone will have an avatar and be living in these virtual spaces and a whole virtual world. That's a whole nother thing.
Your digital twin.
Right, the digital twin.
With this digital twin, have you heard
which already exists.
The BlackRock having a software called Aladdin that is basically can mine data in all facets of our existence, from political to
So that's the key. When you say data mining, again, and that's what I was saying, it comes back to you really want to look at the study, and we need to, as original people, we need to start going into the fields of data science and data engineering. I went to a conference. It was called AI in Wall Street or something. It was downtown here. I think I had to pay like $500 to go to this joint. And they talked about how all these data mining, machine learning companies is aiding Wall Street firms. So you talk about the BlackRock. I don't know you said Aladdin. I mean, that's the name of the thing. However, what they show you if you go to this conference, because in the big conference space at the hotel, you go around all these tables, man. I was taking books and all the stuff they had, right? But they would show you how they're mining data from the internet. For example, there was one company and he showed you how they were taking all the open source data out there on housing defaults and foreclosures, and they took all this data as raw numbers, but they made a visual heat map. So now you can click buttons on the graph and it shows you here's areas of the country that's distressed, and now the investors is able to target those areas, going after areas where they know the foreclosures rate is high or there's some other problems, the income levels. So they mining all this data, and all this data is producing what? Information that you can now take action on, right? It's giving you actionable insights. They call it data insight, analytical insights. So I mean, that's the key there. And then you talk about machine to machine. They build these application programming interfaces, or APIs they call them, and then the APIs are just scripts that's hooked to the machines. So the script, the API just hooks to that machine and pulls the data from it into my machine. And then the key is you need data engineers who know how to aggregate the data together that's going to produce the information so some business analysts can make a decision on it. I went to another conference. There was a
But real quick though, because the way you describing that reminds me of like the Africa being mineral rich,
yes,
but not being able to access it because they don't really know
how the production from it, the raw
material.
How to make the finished end product from the materials, such as, for example, you talk about cobalt and all the other things they extract from the Congo and Mediterranean, and they produce phones with it, right? The phones, all these things in our phones, a lot of them, the minerals and elements all come from Africa. But yeah, so they got the people, and unfortunately they working in harsh conditions. You got child labor, and that's a whole nother thing, right? With human rights activists always talking about with Apple, how ethical are you that you got people over here working in these unfair conditions, and then you mark up this price at an outrageous price, which goes back to exploitation and capitalism that we were talking about before. But I'm sorry, man. So on the thing about data, we have a lot of we use these platforms. So the problem again is,
and we're giving the information freely to this platform.
Well, this is why
Yeah,
I want to
go ahead.
I want to interject something.
Yeah.
Ask, are you familiar with the Internet of Things?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Also, like, it's one thing to like say you messing with online and the information is being, you know, snatched up, but that's not the only information that's out there, because you have the medical body area network, meaning dealing with the bio cybersecurity, like information from the body itself.
True.
From sensors that are in your body,
Yes.
on your body,
Yes.
as well as in the air.
Yes.
Which we kind of take for granted, but that's your information too. It's
Right.
like it's you know it's deeper than what I thought at one point. You
Peace,
know what
God. No, you hit on it. You bringing it to where we need to go to conversation, and I'm just thinking in my mind like how to really explain, discuss this.
You must do your own research, as I did.
INFMEGA did this.